Eric's objectives today, well, first of all, he is using the Advanced Communicator Series, Speeches by Management. His objectives say, understand the concept and nature of motivational method in management. Apply a 4-step motivational method with the objective to persuade and inspire. Deliver a motivational speech to persuade an audience to agree with the management proposal, your management proposal, and his time is 10 to 12 minutes.
Today, everyone in the room is at a special Jensen Precast sales meeting, and is a Jensen Precast employee. I want a raise already. Sales, as we know it, at Jensen Precast is going to change. Not change, it's going to be transformed. To introduce the ideas of what this change is going to happen is Eric Jensen. Eric Jensen, the new sales paradigm, Eric Jensen.
Exciting stuff. Has anybody here ever been part of something that was genuinely world class? I'm talking best in the world stuff. Where people looked at you and said, you know, whatever that subject is, that is how it's done, and there's no place else anywhere in the world where it's done better. I aspire to that, and I aspire for this organization, and our sales processes are going to do that. So if you're here, you're going to be part of that process. This isn't going to be an easy process. This is going to be very difficult. Not all of us may make it through this process. For those that do, it'll be a source of pride and a source of accomplishment that you can look back at. So what is this? What is this process? What are we going to do? Each step, each element of this process is world-class in and of itself. By going through this, you're going to be a more valuable person coming out the other side, both to the company as well as to yourself, to any employer in the outside world. First thing we're going to do, and these aren't in order per se, so let me point that out. These are all part of a system, I say. So just diving into it, sales training. As I've asked a lot of people, you know, hey, where did you actually get your sales training? Do you ever have any formal training? Well, no one has. You know, training does exist. And people maybe have taken a class at a convention or at a conference kind of a thing. But for the most part, formalized sales training, and certainly something that was consistent across the company, is pretty much non-existent. So we've done some research at some of the different formal programs that exist, and I think there's 2 really good ones. We've decided on Miller Hyman Company, who actually is a Reno-based company. Kind of cool. But they do training worldwide, and they are one of the 2 kind of world leaders in training. So just that part, you go through that, you come out their side with a couple of certificates that will have some real value, some real meaning to you. Basically, the programs, they're 3-day programs each. They do have a combined class. I'm not sure exactly what we'll do yet, but there's a program called Conceptual Selling, and there's a program called Strategic Selling. So there are public classes you'll go to. They cost the company about $2,500 per person per class. So these are not insignificant programs. So we're going to be making an investment in you, and we're going to expect some things coming out the other side. You know, to follow their processes, their procedures, their methods, their ideas. As we continue to advance, we'll probably come up with some company best practices relative to what their processes are. But the Miller Hyman training, that's first part of our step forward. Next point. I think most of you guys are familiar with Dodge construction news. It comes in paper forms, it comes in electronic forms. This obviously one's a paper form. This one is specifically Southern California based. In the case of Southern California, this comes out every day. So we're going away from the paper, we're going all electronic. Not only are we going electronic though, we're going to integrate another tool, which is a third point, which is a program called Salesforce.com. Now, as some people know, last week, 5 of us from Jensen were at a week-long conference on Salesforce.com down in San Francisco. So we came out of that with a lot of best practices, a lot of world-class stuff like I'm talking about in how to use that, how to really use a CRM system, which is what this is. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's a way to track kind of your opportunities, things you're working on, who's doing what, who's seeing customers, how you should perfect those processes. Salesforce.com is a world-class product in and of itself. It's going to take some training, of which we're going to get you the Salesforce.com training. So there's a lot of training in these processes. You'll go through that training. And the integration between the McGraw-Hill construction services, the electronic integration between that and Salesforce is just one of the most powerful things you can imagine. So we're going to pull in all the jobs in the area that we focus on, which in our case will be California, Arizona, Nevada, and Hawaii. Those states, we're going to pull in all those jobs are big. We'll filter them down to criteria that we set. So how to work with these filters and stuff will be a big part of our learning. But basically, we should have a list of these are jobs that either have products that you'd like to sell or have high likelihood that there'll be products you'll have to sell. So we're gonna create a position or two in our company where people will review those incoming jobs and then feed them out to the salespeople for, okay, now you need to go bid that job, get the bid to get a quote to everybody who's bidding it, follow up, find out who got the job, and we're gonna keep track of all that in Salesforce.com. Really cool stuff. Now, to make that effective as well, and another big change we're going to have is we're going to do all our quoting is going to be done in Salesforce.com as well. Now, as you guys know, we use Visual Manufacturing, our ERP system, to do all that now. There's not a lot of fans of Visual Manufacturing, very slow, old system. This will be a massive time saver for the people to deal with quoting, which for the people here, that's a good chunk of your day is preparing quotes. This is a world-class way to prepare quotes. Much faster, much more accurate, and much more visibility as to how to use this stuff, how to link back to what we're doing. Very cool stuff. So, once again, more training, because now you got a quoting program that'll be integrated with Salesforce. You got Salesforce itself. You got the McGraw-Hill stuff that'll be fed into that. And then, of course, we'll have the Miller-Heiman training on top of all that. A couple more things. Kind of a cool feature. This is kind of a little point relative to this whole process, but we're going to upgrade all our telephone system to kind of an IP telephony unified communication kind of a system that will also be directly tied into Salesforce.com. So when a customer calls, it'll auto recognize that number, screen pop their screen. So whatever you happen to be working off that person, you'll have all their data present. It'll also auto log that a call has started. So if you want to make a note about what that call was about, there's the info, go make a call. Cool stuff. So that'll be part of this process as well as we continue forward. We're also going to overlay a marketing automation process on top of all of this. So what is marketing automation? Basically, for every account, every customer that's out in the world out there, will, based on what they're doing, what jobs are in their pipeline, when the last time we talked to them was, based on a number of factors, we're going to come up with, we call it a script, on how would we like to electronically, cheaply, postal mails, another process, and telephone calls are another process, but this is marketing automation. This is like not quite where the salespeople are really needed to talk to the people. But we'd like to keep a stream of communications going with these people. So based on who you are, kind of where you are, we want to feed some stream of communications to those people so we're not out of sight, out of mind. And what that stream is will depend on who they are. So the automation part of it is you think out those scenarios, like, well, if a customer, if we've never heard from a customer ever, and all of a sudden they call us, what is that? How do we want to handle that person going forward? So we'll have a script for that. And if they are a best customer, okay, well, let's have a script for that kind of stuff. So these processes run in the background, so there's constantly a stream of things being fed to people. It's really cool stuff. That's why that marketing automation overlay there. That won't necessarily be so much with the salespeople, except that we'll need help with the scripts. You know, what would be an appropriate thing to say? What would be a good way to handle this? And we need input from everybody as to how should we do that. The last thing is, once this gets in place, at least substantially in place, we want to put in an incentive plan. Now, we don't have any commissions in our company at all, and that's not going to change straight away. But we can put in some interesting incentive plans that use maybe some trips, if you're do such and such, or recognition, or at least some sort of, here's the top people this week. Try to tie some sort of cool incentives to that gives some motivation, some publicity to, hey, what the heck are you doing out there? Who's doing a good job? Who's not? So we'll put that in place as well. But I really would like it to lead towards a actual commission plan where people are actually paid based on performance or activities that likely will lead to the kind of results we want. This is the groundwork for that. So I can't sit here and tell you we're going to put in a commission plan. But by having all this in place, it makes that a lot more likely that we can do that. And I would like to do that, but let's get this other stuff in place. We do all these things, and for the rest of this conference, we'll get into the details. There's work, a ton of learning, a huge change of how we operate. This is world-class stuff. There's nobody out there doing what I'm talking about, at least in our relative world, dealing in the, supplying to the construction industry kind of stuff. Nobody's doing this kind of stuff, but we can do it. So if you're one of the, I dare say, fortunate people here to be part of the development of this process, you'll be able to look back and say, hey, I was part of that when we developed that thing. So new people coming in, you can say, hey, look, I was here when we didn't have that. We put that in, we developed it. Now people look to us as, hey, look, these guys are really how it's done. You can be part of that. I would encourage you to dive into this stuff. Become an expert. Pick a subject in here. We need so much help on this process. There's so much opportunity for people to just get involved and to become an expert on these subjects. So this is your chance at a gold medal, maybe. Your chance at maybe a Nobel Prize in a small way. Let's do this. It's awesome stuff. I look forward to working with everybody.